Hi, welcome everyone. I'm excited for the opportunity for us to gather here today. My name is Heather Petrovich, and I am a Chief of Staff here at LastPass for our Chief Secure Technology Officer. I am joined by several other talented women in cyber located across the globe who are here to share their insights for International Women in Cyber Day. International Women in Cyber Day is a global movement of women and male advocates who recognize September 1st as a special day set aside to bring awareness to the challenges women face and celebrate women's achievements within the cybersecurity industry. The Women Cybersecurity Society, WCS2 for short, celebrated the first Women in Cybersecurity Conference in Canada with the inaugural Women in Cybersecurity Conference on September 12th, 2019. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. As I mentioned, I'm Chief of Staff for our Chief Secure Technology Officer, which is a bit of an unusual title. He plays two roles. He is our security officer as well as our technology officer, and so I help him run the business and program management side for his organization. So with that, I'm going to start with Jess. Hi, Jess. How are you today?
Hi, Heather. Thanks for having me.
Hi, great. Thank you. So Jess is joining us from Atlanta, Georgia. She is a senior manager in global business operations. Jess, would love to hear more about your role here.
Thanks, Heather. Yes, I am on our operations team, and outside of work, I'm the mom of two little toddlers, so definitely sympathetic to the juggles of working motherhood. Um, in my role in business operations, I'm actually currently deeply entrenched with our IT and security team, which has been an interesting plot twist in my career, and I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about that.
Great, thank you. Uh, yeah, what advice do you have for women considering a career in cyber?
So I alluded to it when I mentioned, or what advice do I have for women considering a career in cyber? I alluded to it in my introduction that I've experienced a bit of a plot twist in my own career recently. If you had told me a year ago that I would be deeply entrenched, as I said, with IT and security and leading, by all accounts, what would be categorized as an IT complex delivery project right now, I would have just looked at you and said, okay, but how? I don't have any formal project management skill. I haven't been in IT or security, don't have that background to date. How does that happen? A year ago, I joined our business operations team, coming from managing a sales enablement role. And I attribute some of this to luck and timing. But more importantly, I had a network of colleagues that I'd worked with over the last 7 years who vouched for me with our executive team when this role opened up. Though I hadn't cut my teeth in an operations role before, they essentially said, this woman can do it. We know her. She does what she says she's going to do. We think she'll succeed in this role. And that really made all the difference. Making that 90-degree turn for me threw me out of my comfort zone and threw me into the world of IT and security engineering in ways that I wouldn't have expected. And I've learned a tremendous amount of the importance of a humming IT and security team, the necessary collaboration between the two of them, and how nuanced it is to be able to protect an organization, to be able to do their jobs. More importantly, to be able to do their jobs securely so they can protect themselves, the firm, and our customers. So the advice I have is really in three parts for any woman considering a role in cybersecurity or is actively in it, but just looking at what's next in their career. It's threefold. The first is it's okay to do something you haven't done before. If you dedicate your time, your energy, and your brain, most importantly, you actually can succeed in any role. It's amazing the power of active listening and just doing what you say you're going to do when you need to do it. The second is you are actively grooming your career and your next opportunity right now. With every engagement you have with your colleagues, you are building a reputation that can pay dividends later, and you never know when it's going to pay off. I've heard women on panels before say, I was asked to do this role or I was tapped, and I've always thought, how does that happen? How does that happen to me? And then it did happen to me. So you never know when it will happen, but someone will say in a room, I know this woman, I believe she can do it. And that's just an incredible, incredible moment. And I hope you experience it someday. The last is be very bold in describing to anyone and everyone what you like to do and what you want to do. You can cut the fancy titles. It's not a title and a description, but really freely tell people what energizes you about your job or what you'd like to do next. Do you like to execute? Do you like to coordinate? Are you a writer? Are you a builder? You never know when someone will say, hey, I know someone, dot, dot, dot. So freely network, always tell your story. And when someone comes to you with a challenge that you've never done before, like I have, it's definitely worth saying yes.
Great. I love that, Jess. Thank you. That's all great, great advice, and very true. I think I found that in my career as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Okay, Katie. Hi. Katie is joining us from Boston, Massachusetts. Katie is a senior director here of product management. Katie, would love to hear more about your role.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I lead up the product marketing team here at LastPass. I've been working with LastPass for 8 years or so, so I've learned to really love this product a lot. And as the product marketing team, we really are responsible everything from product launches and messaging and really knowing that persona, working on collateral and thought leadership. It's a really exciting and dynamic role. And fortunately, I've had the opportunity to work with so many of the women on this panel because of the product marketing role, which I love.
Fantastic. Thank you. So Katie, what advice do you have for women considering a career in cyber?
Yeah, there's a couple different pieces I wanted to call out here. I mean, similar to Jess, I didn't necessarily know that I would land in cyber, but it's something that again I've been here for about 8 years and I've really developed. And a couple things really stand out to me as far as really what you might want to do as you're looking at a career in cyber. And number one is always be learning. I think in the space of cybersecurity, the skill of curiosity is never going to be a negative for you. You always want to be asking questions, and what that really means is what can you be getting your hands on to read or listen to podcasts or talk to different teams. The technology in the space is constantly changing, and it's something that you have to continually educate yourself to stay up to speed on. And so that's something, that curiosity and that willingness to learn and on a continually learn, right? I think what you learn today might be different than what you need to learn in a month or sometimes even a day or a week. That's just how fast that this market and industry is actually evolving. And so I highly recommend that you sort of immerse yourself in the resources that are available, because this cybersecurity industry is certainly very deep, but there is a lot. It's a very engaging community. There's a lot of writing and thought that goes into this space. So there's lots there. I found some certain podcasts to be interesting. One of the first ones you'll probably hear about is just something like Smashing Security. They make security fun and engaging. You want to listen. There's certainly podcasts out there that can sort of bore you, but that's a really good one to get started with. And then the other one is really talk to your colleagues, right? I mean, as a product marketer, we'd love to talk to, if you're experiencing or interested in a role in cyber, we would love to. Product marketers are a great starting point. Or even, your solutions consultants or your sales engineers, whatever they're called, those tend to be super knowledgeable folks in the organization that work with the product and work with the clients. Sales, there's so many different team members that you can talk to, and everybody has a different perspective. I think that's what's really interesting. Even if someone doesn't have the same point of view as you, it's still valuable to kind of get those different perspectives so that you can form your own personal opinion. So that one that is certainly one of my big pieces of advice. And the second one, which I alluded to, is you have to be comfortable with change. You have to embrace it. Again, this is an industry where things are happening very rapidly. It makes for things to be very exciting, but it also means that the processes and the way that you did things yesterday or last year probably aren't going to be the same that you're doing in a year or a month or whatnot. And anything, if you do try to do the same thing, you might be left behind. So I think you always have to be thinking about, how do I evolve my skill set or my work to really move with the market and just keep up to speed. And then my last one is really to speak up, right? I think this is certainly an industry that can be and is male dominated. So I think I just would encourage you not to be afraid to raise your hand and have a comment or ask a question. And again, it kind of ties to the always be learning. Like, if you're not asking these questions, then how are you're figuring out what you need to know in order to do your job even better. So I would just kind of round it out by saying, just don't be afraid to speak up and have your point of view heard.
Most definitely. Thank you. I'm seeing a theme here, as Jess alluded to that as well. I have found that myself, you have to be your own best advocate for these things. So thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And sharing your podcast too. That's great. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so
All
much, Heather.
right, Katie, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Audrey, moving over to you. Audrey is joining us today from Hungary. She is a software engineering manager. So Audrey, if you have a moment, would you share a little bit more about your current role?
Yes, thanks, Heather, for having me. I'm really excited to be here in this nice group. The moment, what I would like to share with you, what shaped my career, is how I joined LastPass last year, because I was working as a project manager for over 13 years, and then I became a Scrum Master. And after a year, I got an offer or an opportunity from a LastPass TA specialist to be part of an interview process for a Scrum Master. I was so excited because I always wanted to work for LastPass, because I heard a lot of good things about how they treat their employees. I took the challenge and I did it very well, because I couldn't be more happy with my current role, because I love to see how my team are changing and growing. And I think bringing in female energy to the organizations are valuable and worth to have it, because we clearly see the positive effect of our presence.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's definitely, excuse me, a pivotal moment that changed your career. That's fantastic. It's good to hear, and making these shifts as well. We heard Jess talk about it, also for changing, being an ad, try something new, and changing careers or fields, and as you've done, is no easy task, but it is great to have women leaders, women engineers, everyone that we've got here. So this is fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to Sophie. How are you today?
Hi, Heather. I'm really excited to be here.
Great, great. So she is joining us also from Hungary as a senior project manager with our platform engineering team. So thank you for being here. Would you just give me a little bit of background on the type of projects that you work on here?
Yeah, I joined LastPass about a year ago as a project manager by title, but I'm working really close with the DevOps teams of LastPass. I'm organizing the day-to-day work of these DevOps teams and also tracking the project work of them. And I was really, really pleased that I got this opportunity.
Fantastic. It's a good company to give opportunities to. So, okay. So what advice do you have for women considering a career in cyber?
Advice I have for women considering a career in cyber is to be confident. Don't let self-doubt get in your way. I know it can be scary to be a single woman in a room or at a virtual meeting. I felt it personally many times, as I was the only woman for 8 months in the whole platform engineering organization at LastPass. But you should be confident in your skills and abilities. don't let these doubts affect your work or career visions. And self-confidence is also essential to be able to share your point of view, such as Katie mentioned before. If you are invited to a meeting, you earned your place at the table. You are there with a good reason. Remind yourself constantly if you are unsure about it, build up your confidence, and if you have ideas to share, concerns to raise, speak up and make it sure that your voice is heard. I think
I
that's what I can share.
Yeah, I love that. If you're invited, definitely you're there for a reason. And speak up. And oftentimes, you're asking questions or raising points that others have as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Okay. So, Christina.
Hi, Heather. How are you?
Good. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay. So, Christina is joining us here from Charlotte, North Carolina. Is a senior director of product management at LastPass as well. So, Christina, do you want to tell me a little bit about your role here?
Sure, I'm happy to. So I've also been with LastPass for about a year now, and I lead up our product development group focused in on the end user experience. So very privileged to be able to not only work with talented product managers, but within the product role, it's a great cross-functional role to be able to work with so many different talented individuals within the entire LastPass organization. So very, very thankful and fortunate for the opportunity. I'm happy to join you today as well, Heather.
Great, thank you. Would love it if you could share a pivotal moment or experience that has shaped your career.
Yeah, I would love to. I think as we've heard a lot from the talented women on today's call, is there are a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different experiences we bring to the table. And one pivotal moment that really shaped my career is realizing very early on that you do not need to be an expert right off the bat on everything. I think a lot of us want to be proficient and know all of our details before we speak up in any sort of meeting. But I think we all have to get comfortable with not being the expert initially, right? It's learning to understand and listening to understand really that makes us more informed, and then eventually gets us to the point where we've built our confidence up, as well as just being able to contribute to a conversation. So it's a work in progress for me, admittedly, still today. I'd like to know everything before I speak up, but it's just realizing, again, you don't have a little grace with yourself and patience with yourself to know that it comes in time. But if you have that innate and general curiosity to listen to understand not only to your colleagues, but people in the industry, as well as your customers, that will come, right? Another realization that I had early on in my career is it's really important for you to find allies, to also find people not only in your current company, but people in your network of people you've worked with in the past, or even maybe new people, networking outside of your comfort zone, and making sure that you have advocates, not only advocating for you in the industry, but also advocating for you as a person and as a professional. So that is something that I realized very early on, that it could help you not only in days where you don't feel that great, but also in future growth, career growth, right? That it's important you find that network in your cheerleading crowd, if you will. So I'd highly recommend you start to cultivate that group for yourself and continue to pay it forward, right? It's not only that you're taking, but you're also giving back to others and making sure that you're their allies and networks in the future as well. So.
Yes, I love that. Finding allies is often something that people don't always consider first. They think their manager, which is an ally, but definitely you never know who you're going to cross paths with, and different advice that you can get. It's super useful. And as far as mentoring and giving back as well, I've learned a ton from people that I have mentored, and so it's that it's a really great bit of advice. Thank you.
Nice.
Okay. Excuse me. Moving on to Gwendolyn. How are you today? So,
Hello,
Gwendolyn.
Heather. How are you?
Hi. Hi. Good. Thank you. Uh, Gwendolyn is joining us from Dublin, Ireland. Thank you for being here today. She is an account exec for our large enterprise. Would love to hear more about your role.
Thank you for the warm introduction, Heather. I have worked at LastPass for the past 5 years, and as you mentioned, at LastPass, I'm an enterprise account executive and work actively toward the development and growth of French-speaking countries. Outside of work, I am a spouse and mom of 3, and somehow I still figure to find time to train at elite level for calisthenics.
Wow, that's a lot. I don't know how you find the time, but that's great. So tell me, what advice do you have for women considering a career in cyber?
The advice I have for women considering a career in cybersecurity is believe in your capabilities. Actually, this is an advice I was given by a journalist just before giving an interview to Forbes magazine. They told me something along the lines, nobody wants to see you fail. You know what you're talking about. Just own your message. Be confident. That confidence plays a major role in my day-to-day. I have a very public-facing role where I would represent LastPass and often be one of the few women present at events, trade shows, speak at conferences, create new business relations with solution providers, negotiate deals with prospects, nurture customer relationships. The vast majority of the person I talk to are men. That doesn't make me any less legitimate. Quite the opposite. It challenges the stereotypes and biases by demonstrating my skills and knowledges. The interesting point is most of these men in cyber are great supporters of women in cybersecurity and wish there were more. Of course, women in cyber represent less than a quarter of the industry professionals, but this number is growing because I believe women like me are empowered to embrace their passion for technology. I am personally grateful to many male individuals, really, that helped me along this journey. One of them recognized my potential even before I knew what I was capable of, helped me spread my wings and build that confidence. Today, he's a vice president of the company. But also individuals that I met along the way, like the deputy CEO of a French cyber institute, telling me after we had shared perspectives around cybersecurity during a roundtable at the French Formula One Grand Prix last year, that he only accepts to participate in interviews if there is at least one woman present. So that being said, I'm happy to contribute in chattering the bias surrounding the cybersecurity because obviously we know that it's preconceived notion that it's exclusively a male-dominated domain, and it's important to remember the cybersecurity industry benefits greatly from diverse workforce, and women present and contribution in the industry can make a significant impact, just like we can see here with the example we have around the table with these ladies. So we must pursue our aspirations with determination and confidence, as a career in cybersecurity can be incredibly fulfilling.
Definitely, most definitely. Thank you so much. That's insightful, and going that also touches in what Christina had mentioned with the allies and supporters. It's often very, very much the case. Thank you, Gwendolyn, for sharing your point of view.
Thank you, Heather.
All right. Okay, moving on to Sana. How are you today?
Hi there. Very well, thank you.
Hi, good. So
Yeah.
Sana is joining us from the UK. She is a principal security and privacy awareness specialist. Tell me, what does that role mean?
Yes, I've just recently joined LastPass actually, and I hired basically to run the design, the security awareness programs, and I sit under the governance, risk, and compliance team in security. So essentially, recently we've been undergoing some changes. So I've been communicating policy, addressing areas of human risk, and also thinking about how to build out LastPass security culture. So those are my recent role requirements.
Yeah, thank you. Would you like to share a pivotal moment that has shaped your career?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and the pivotal moment occurred for me is when I realized the value add I could offer the cybersecurity industry. entering cyber for me wasn't accidental, actually. It was quite intentional, because I felt that we live in such a technology mediated world, that this is the civic responsibility of our time, digital literacy, and a responsibility that we have. But I actually am a sociologist, so I don't have that linear technical path into cyber. And in my previous roles, I'd worked in research, in investigations, and economics research, for example. So my background has been quite varied. And then also on top of that, I was coming out of a career break, which I think many women during their career lives experience, that they take care of families or elderly parents. So it was quite a daunting stage for me on how to find my feet again, and also contribute in a new industry. But sitting here now with these wonderful women, and with hindsight, I can say that there's some fantastic organizations out there, some forward-thinking organizations such as LastPass, who actually value the diversity of thought, the diversity of experience, and understand that these are actually keys to building resilient organizations and fantastic teams, and to serve our customers better. So I feel very privileged to be here. I'd also say that in retrospect, I've also noticed the skills that organizations are looking for when they're hiring for cyber, and it's not always the technical skills are not always the ones high on the list, which they are. And I think this is backed up between some industry studies that have gone out as well. And just out of the top three, one of them is communication, another one is analytical skills, and the third being project management, alongside cloud skills as well, and alongside security intelligence, for example. But these are the top three core skills, and I think many women who are returning back into a career, possibly from a returner such as myself, or thinking about joining the cyber industry, I think my advice to them would be to ride those skills and strengths that you already have, because they're desperately needed within this industry. And I think my second piece of advice would be just feel the fear and just do it anyway. Find that network of comrades, of like-minded people, like-minded women, to be your support system throughout, personally and professionally as well. So welcome to cyber.
I love that. And that's definitely an interesting career shift you made from being a sociologist and a researcher over into security. Also ties in very well as far as getting into the mindset of why people might do things and how they would react. So I love that. That's quite a shift, but it definitely fits. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so moving on, Sandra, how are you?
Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Today. It's been an amazing panel so far. So
it has. I'm really excited. Yeah, thank you. So just a quick intro on Sandra. Don't let her American accent fool you. She lives in Germany and is joining us from there today. She is a senior director of our product management team as well. So if you could just give us a quick overview of your role here at LastPass.
So I'm definitely counterparts with Christina from the earlier interview. She is my ally as well. I pick up the other half of the product management team, so I'm responsible for our business products and really focus in on our admins and their experiences with the product. I've been with LastPass about 1.5 years, was part of the broader organization a bit longer than that, and I can definitely reflect back to what one of the other ladies said. Part of the reason I originally joined the organization is because there was a woman on my interview panel, and it impressed me that the company had women on the interview panel, and I took this job over another one. So definitely a nice way to get representation in there and really have advocacy where it matters. It's part of that evaluation when you join a company, right?
It definitely is, and some often that can turn women off to companies if there is nobody that looks like them in there. Just from a diversity perspective as well, not just women. But yeah, I love
Exactly.
that too. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. So how about if you would share a pivotal moment that has shaped your career?
Sure. So one of the things that I actually get asked the most, being a woman in tech, being a woman in cybersecurity now as well, my career has progressed over time. I'm firmly in tech and have gotten into the more complicated over time. One of the questions I get the most actually is how did I manage to become a senior director? I think there's a impression that having a woman in a higher leadership position, that it's almost unattainable or it should be very difficult. And there's a lot of questions that come. I get a lot of questions, from people I'm mentoring. How did you do it? What's the secret? And I think reflecting back on what some of the other ladies have said, it's about advocating for yourself. I think that a lot of the time there's two pieces or two things that contribute to that there's not as much representation of female leadership as there could be. One is we tend to talk ourselves out of things, right? When you see a new position, you see a job description, the immediate first reaction is, oh, I don't fill 4 of these 12 bullet points. I'm not eligible for this job. Please stop doing that to yourself. Reflecting back on what Sana just said, if you've got the right skill set and you have the most important skills, everyone is entirely confident that you're going to be able to learn it. It's just a question of learning it and teaching it, and it's more your aptitude to learn it. So please don't talk yourself out of a job or a role or an industry. There's always an opportunity to learn, reflecting back to what Katie said about the podcast as well. Don't limit yourself on that. And the other piece that's on that, and this was really what changed my career and got me into management myself. I wanted to be an advocate and I wasn't sure how to go about that. And I was part of the school of thought that you can only become a manager if you get promoted, and you can only get promoted if you do a really good job and your manager promotes you. And I think particularly when you work in a male-dominated industry, when you're talking about tech or cybersecurity, men are great advocates for themselves. So they have no hesitation to go to their manager and say, I want this promotion. I deserve this next role. I have the skills. I want more. And I think women are more expecting that it's just going to be given to them as a reward. And so I would say to everybody who's listening to us now is like, please advocate for yourself. Make sure your manager knows what you're interested in. If you're interested in picking up more projects, if you're interested in kind of shifting what your focus is, if you're looking for a new experience or to develop a new skill, be your advocate, talk to your manager, talk to their manager. If you get an opportunity for a skip level, build out the network of people who know what you can contribute and what you are able to learn or to offer. That's how the next role comes. Reflecting back to what was said at the beginning, people who know you and your skill set, people who know what you're looking for, people who know you're interested in new opportunities, those are the ones that are going to give you that next opportunity. People who know you're interested in going into management are going to give you the opportunity to coach somebody, to mentor somebody, to get a junior employee, and then become a team leader. Team leaders then get coached by more senior managers. Senior managers get coached by the next level up. Build that network, find yourself mentors. It doesn't have to be anything formal. Please don't be intimidated and think you have to make a schedule. Just advocate for yourself. Grab a coffee or virtual coffee now in this virtual world we live in, and just ask someone about their career, what they learned, how they got to the next step, and take some of the learnings for yourself. And so really my best piece of advice and that pivotal moment for me was to just advocate for myself and name what I wanted and make it happen. And I know that sounds really easy. I know it sounds very simple to say that, but I promise you, the more people know what you want and what you're interested in, the more likely it is to happen for you. If it's something that you keep for yourself, people can't help you reach it. And I think working in an organization like LastPass, you can definitely see the effect on everyone's careers here, that just having somebody who believes in you and gives you that opportunity and that chance to shine, you got to ask for it and they will make it happen. I'm confident in that.
Yes, I love that. And that is advice that can go to any company inside and outside of LastPass for sure. It is something that you have to do. Doing a good job is not always good enough. So you have to be that advocate, ask for the new project, ask for the promotion, ask for a team of people, whatever it is. Yes, it is advice that is uncomfortable, asking for being your own advocate and asking for what you want, but it does get you there.
It opens the doors. Yeah.
It definitely does. So thank you very much for sharing that.
You're very welcome.
And that brings us to the end of our panel here. So I wanted to give an opportunity for everyone to come back on camera. Thank you all for being here. This was such a fantastic panel and opportunity. I've only been at LastPass for maybe 2 months now, so this is a great opportunity. I'm meeting some of you for the first time. Some of you I have worked with, and it's just I feel full, like my heart is full seeing all of the women supporters here. So that's great. Yes, Sandra, thank you. But do any of you have any final thoughts that you would like to share or questions for one another? We have some time to do that. That's okay if we don't. I will. Yeah, Jess, you came off.
I was going to say, I thought it was very telling, the theme throughout of raising each other up. And I think for those of us in a position where we can also, apart from this webinar and these recordings, offer up time in our ear to others, if you are in a position where you can share your story, to not disregard the LinkedIn message or the email. And if you say, I'm going to connect someone, or I know someone who, make sure you follow up on that, right? You are what you do. And so, help us be the network for everyone, to work your way into cyber, to excel, to change jobs. So I feel very inspired by listening to everyone's stories, because I think all of us can attribute a large amount of where we are today. If you can see farther than others, it's because you're standing on the shoulders of giants. And I think that that's a really true story with a lot of people's careers.
Yes, definitely, Jess. Thank you. And yeah, just the common themes. I was taking some notes as we were chatting. It definitely is find your allies, advocate for yourself, try something new. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try something new. And just believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, it's harder for other people to believe in yourself. So make sure that you are asking those questions, showing that you're curious, making your career goals and aspirations known to not only your direct leaders, but others around, other organizations. Constantly learning. I mean, there's just so much good advice here that we've covered today. And I greatly appreciate it. I would share more, but I think I am very much in line with everyone here. So thank you all so much. This really was a phenomenal panel and discussion. Really appreciate everyone's insights.